second delay. This helps YouTube get caught up to everything. There we go. All right, and we got a 3. And live from Roswell, we got a 2. And we got a space alien at 1. And we are going live. Blast off. Hey, everybody. We got that music going. I love that music. And welcome to the Cosmic Cafe Show, a special edition. Let me get my Cosmic Cafe Show hat straight. There we go. It seems like I'm still a little hot. Oops, let me turn off that light. Ooh, it's dark. There we go, that's better. Hey, happy Wednesday the 16th, 2016. My name is Eric Brown. I will be your host and server. Today is episode number 95. Can you believe that? 95 episodes of the Daily Special. And tonight is one extremely special episode. As you know, if you watched the show on Monday, I was with Russ Emanuel, and I did mention that we'd be traveling here in the Southwest and trying to get to Roswell by today. And we are in Roswell, New Mexico, yes, where supposedly a UFO had crashed in 1947, and I don't have Major Jesse Marcel, but I have what I believe is the best alternate, his granddaughter, Denice Marcel. Hello, Denice.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm getting over a little bit of a sore throat thing that I caught yesterday. That's why I didn't go live yesterday, because I was sick in bed, sleeping up in Page, Arizona, up by Lake Powell.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's going around.
And we had a grueling about 10-hour drive to get here to Roswell tonight, and I really appreciate you just taking time out of your evening for this impromptu freestyling episode of the Cosmic Cafe Show. So hey, thanks so much for making some time for this historic event for the show, and for anybody that's going to tune in and watch this, probably catch it on the replay later. They'll be jealous that they didn't get in now.
You're absolutely welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I've only been pestering Denice since, I think, what was it, like when we first met? Was it June or July of last year at Jeff Krause's special MUFON?
Well, it would have had to have been in June, because I was in Roswell in last July.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was shocked. I don't know why. I just had this feeling that Roswell was some little small, out in the middle of nowhere town, and there'd be like one traffic light in the middle of town, and that would be about it. And I was blown away just coming in to town here. There's so many great businesses here, and I mean, there's a huge Walmart. I mean, the place is enormous. It's a really nice town. Yeah,
it is. My dad loved it there.
I don't doubt it. It's beautiful. The beautiful serene, landscape around, as well as just the town itself seems. Well, I'll find out tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be poking around. I'm going to be being a tourist.
You're going to go and stop in at the museum then?
Absolutely, and I'll wear my Cosmic Cafe Show hat at least. Maybe even my polo shirt. Oh, I got to button up my polo shirt. I slipped it on right over. There we go.
Sorry, excuse me, I sneezed. Sorry about that.
Should I unbutton it again?
It shocked me.
Don't get shocked. Well, hey, let's remind people, if people don't know who you are or what we're talking about here. There's you with Jeff Krause. Let me move that up a little bit. And Jeff Krause is our state director for MUFON, or your state director for MUFON. And he covers Central California and Southern California. And that was last June when I met you also.
Yes.
And people who watched Jeff on the show last week, they saw this picture, if they were paying attention, that is. And then we have, let me just backwards up. So your family became, let me see if I can make that, okay, I better stop fiddling with it. People should recognize this headline. So the military captured a flying saucer on a ranch in Roswell, here in the area. And that was 1947. And your grandfather, I guess, was the one that had declared, right? He was a major in the military. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, he
Okay.
was in major at the time.
And he declared. Should I let you tell the story or?
Well, I mean, it's fine, and I maybe you can tell a little bit about it, and then I'll just like add little things to it, maybe.
Okay. Well, he's your grandfather, so you probably could
Yes.
definitely add things much more than I could ever or anybody could. So, except for maybe your brother.
Right. Yeah, we're about the same, so
So
we grew up with the same story. So
that's right. That's right. So your grandfather, he, oops, that's well. There's your grandfather there. Also, he's
yes,
over on the far right, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? He's holding up the weather balloon. That was the next day. But let's go back to the first day. So I'll turn off my auto rotate tool. All right. So it is. He declared, and the press went wild. Global press, everything. The place turned into a zoo within like what 24 hours. There was just
yeah,
and because it's like an official military declaration that a UFO had been captured. So no longer was it science fiction, George Orwell, none of that, stuff. It really happened,
that's
and people were like, "Whoa,"
yeah.
It,
It's I mean, it's yeah. I mean, in that time too was I think it was like a month before that was when Kenneth Arnold had reported his sighting, and then that's when it kind of like really broke out, and then I mean that's when the word flying saucer I believe was coined at that time, and then short after that was when the crash happened in Roswell.
which is just absolutely amazing. And I just feel amazed to be here in Roswell. And it's I've been wanting to get here to Roswell for a long, long time. So it's finally a dream come true for me to be in Roswell, and extra special to be doing this show and especially doing it with you. So your grandfather, he recovered some, I guess, items from the crash site, and your father, Jesse Marcel Jr., he got to see these as a boy. He was what, about, how old was he at the time?
He was around 11 years old.
Okay, and so he got to see these items that your father or your grandfather had brought home, I guess, that night from that day, right? And
Yeah.
they
Yes.
saw very strange metal objects, very strange hieroglyphic type objects. And did your dad ever elaborate more into that you'd care to
Well,
share?
sure. Well, I mean, what happened was my grandfather went out to the debris field,
Uh-huh.
and he described it as being like about stuff that was just debris was everywhere. It was just scattered everywhere, and he said it was about 3/4 of a mile long, and he's even said that you could tell the trajectory of where the object was come from because of the way that the debris fanned out.
Okay.
And he was just so impressed with the stuff that I think he thought, you know what, this is just something that's so amazing. I'm going to have to show my family this because there's probably not ever going to be another time when they're going to be able to see something like this. So instead of like heading straight back to the base after they had picked up some of the debris, they stopped off at the house, and my father said it was probably around 12 o'clock at night, somewhere around in there. And my grandfather woke them up, and my grandmother and my father, and he had this stuff in the kitchen, and he had it all spread out. And I know that there were three types of materials that my dad really remembered. One was like a tinfoil kind of like material. It was very, very thin though, almost like what we have our like Reynolds wrap kind of stuff. It didn't have really a shiny side. It was a dullish kind of color. And the impression that it made on him was it was just really light. It was like light as a feather. It would just instead of just like dropping like this, it would kind of just like slowly down like a feather. There was another one what he would call like a bakelite, which looks what I guess the best description could be like almost like an old record would look like. And there was pieces of that kind of like cracked and brittle and broken everywhere. But the one that made the biggest impression on him was the one that he described it as being an I-beam. And what he did was he saw it in a box sticking out, and he pulled it out of the box, and I think he was just looking at it, and then he held it up to the light, And as he was holding it up to the light, he saw that inside of the I-beam was like this purplish, pinkish kind of hue color geometric figures. He wanted to at first call it kind of like hieroglyphics, but there weren't any animal symbols in it. So the best way he could think of it is like more of like a geometric symbol.
Oh, okay.
And that was it. So then after that, then my grandfather packed everything back up and brought it back to the base.
Now, when you said he commented, and I guess it is well documented, that debris was spread over at least, would you say, a quarter mile, and it kind of fanned out?
About 3/4 of a mile.
I'm sorry, I've only been driving for 9 hours. 3/4 of a mile. I knew there was a quarter in there somewhere. Now, I don't know. I think a reasonable person, even someone like myself who just drove for 9 hours, would probably easily deduct that that's got to be more material than what a simple weather balloon would be capable of producing. Is that not correct?
Well, not only that, I mean, a weather balloon and not that kind of stuff is man-made material. It's pretty obvious. As my dad would say, it's a balloon is a balloon is a balloon. The properties aren't going to change. If it's a balloon, it's a balloon. And that writing that they saw in the symbol, or what the Roswell report came out saying, what they were probably looking at was Scotch tape, Christmas Scotch tape, which is just like, oh, you can't be serious. I mean, excuse. The only thing I guess they could come up with.
Jeez. Speaking of the balloon is a balloon is a balloon, here's the, 24 hours later, and the picture that was released to the press of your grandfather on the far right, kind of squatted down there holding up the weather balloon, and basically the guy probably just to his right with a gun pointed at his head that's off camera.
Well,
I'm just speculating.
My grandfather, he's a military man through and through. So I think if, when General Ramey said you're going to need to take these pictures with this material, we've swapped it out. It's probably yes, sir, and I will absolutely do that. Because you figure it's a different era too. I mean, when you're a military man, you're a military man. Oops. He wouldn't have ever thought of probably even questioning it at that point. It was like, okay, I'm going to do it. Makes me feel very uncomfortable doing it because I know what I'm holding here is not what I found. It's not a weather balloon. It's not a raw wind target. It was something that he couldn't figure out what it was.
Well, yeah, exactly. And at that time too, it's easy for us today to kind of make that flippant comment like I just made. Of course, we know a lot of people think that, but they don't realize that this was 1947. This was roughly 2 years after we finished World War II, and we suddenly got into this heated war with Russia and the communists, and we were afraid that they were going to be stealing our technology, and they were stealing their. We were trying to get their technology, they were trying to get ours technology, and at that time, everything was super sensitive, super secret, hypersensitive, probably beyond hypersensitive. And so it's no doubt if the military had gone to him and said, hey, listen, we need to just back this thing up because we can't let the Russians think that we have alien technology, and we got to figure out what it is, and maybe it's theirs, and we don't want them to know if we have their stuff. We don't want them to know it, and yada, yada, yada. So I could see where it'd be very easy for your grandfather to go along with that without, any doubt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He loved the military he loved the military, so. Absolutely. And so did my father.
Yeah. Well, that's a testament right there to show, your father firsthand saw the material, firsthand saw your grandfather going through all of this, and he still chose to pursue a career path in the military. So that goes to show that he obviously believed that there was a lot of integrity within the military and good for the human race and the American people.
Well, he loves, my dad he loves America, so
yeah,
very, very patriotic person.
Absolutely, without question. So I'm sure a lot of people would, if they were able to sit here and chat with you or over a dinner table. Speaking of which, I still remember the conversation we had at Jeff's place over dinner and stuff, and
Yes.
we had a lot of great stuff. So I obviously don't answer anything that you wouldn't be comfortable with, because that's not what I'm about. I'm not about the gotcha stuff. But
Okay.
was there ever a time that maybe your grandfather or your even your dad might have just pulled you and your brother aside or something and said, listen, this is 100% real. There really was a UFO, and you just have to trust me? Or, I mean, was there any of that kind of stuff that most people in general wouldn't, I guess, think of or would love to know?
Well, I mean, it's funny, when we were growing up, it was almost like it was not built in our DNA, but it was just something that was just kind of known, that we weren't alone. I mean, we just accepted it for that. It wasn't like you had to sit down and say, there are UFOs out there. It was just like, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because my dad had built a really big telescope in our backyard, and we always were looking at the night sky and looking for things that maybe moved in the sky. I have had a lot of conversations with my father about what happened in Roswell. I mean, he 100% believes that something came down that wasn't man-made. And I have to believe the same thing. I can't for a moment think why there would be a reason why my grandfather or my father would lead his kids to believe a story that wasn't true. I mean, there'd be no benefit to that. It wouldn't make any sense. We just grew up knowing that Grandpa and Dad saw pieces of a UFO.
So I guess so that's a testament to them. They didn't actually try and brainwash you or your brother to not say this stuff either, or to believe.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Some of our friends knew about it, but where we grew up, it was a really small town. I mean, it was really small. We lived in a place called Clancy, Montana, and in my neighborhood alone, I mean, there was only a few neighbors around. It was a really rural area outside of Helena, Montana. So it wasn't like people probably didn't even really know about my grandfather's history. In the 1970s, and I'm sure they thought, why did this man build this huge telescope in his backyard? Which was great, because we would bring kids over from the school and we'd take them through tours and let them look through the telescope and give them kind of an education that way of look what's out there. Isn't it amazing?
Oh man, I can imagine. I've been in Montana, and even just on this trip that we've had, we've seen some amazing night skies with stars so clear. Once you're out of the city light pollution and you're out kind of in the middle of nowhere, you can really see some amazing stuff. So that must have been just fantastic as kids growing up.
Yeah, we camped a lot. My dad, because I was a little bit older than my brother, so my dad and I would always go camping with some friends of ours, and so I was at that point, always looking up at the night sky. I mean, I don't remember a time when I wasn't, to be honest with you. I mean, we moved to Montana when it was about, I think, 1971. So that's probably when we started camping and stuff, when I was really little. We were in Montana, there's not much to do except for outdoor activity. Yeah.
I've had some family that lived up in Montana in the southwest corner near the Bitterroot River, and been up to Montana when I was a young kid, and had some very pleasurable memories of Montana. And then about 2009, I went to Montana with my parents. Actually did a road trip with them, so that was kind of special as well. And went up there for a rockhound. They had the international rockhound meeting up there, and drawing a blank on the town, but anyways. I've only been driving for 9 hours today. My brain is just a little fried.
You've got to be tired. It's a long drive there.
It is. I was looking at it on the map. I'm thinking, it'll be a piece of cake, and then I'm like, 9 hours. That yeah, it'll be a little bit long, but it doesn't seem like it'll be that bad. And
Yeah, the last time when I went last year, we split it up. We did it as a 2 day drive. It's well, I live in Los Angeles, so it's well, you live up north, so it's probably even further for you. Actually, you did it in 9 hours.
well, we were in Page, Arizona, up by Lake Powell.
Oh, no wonder. Okay.
Our first night was outside of Las Vegas, and that was Saturday night, and then Sunday night that's a whole long story. We got lost thanks to trusting Google Maps too much, and we were looking for Red Bluff Knoll in Arizona, and it is definitely a beautiful area to try and go to, but only if you're in a well-equipped 4x4 truck with several other people in 4x4 trucks, because it is very treacherous landscape. And when we realized that our little RAV4 was not going to be making the trip, we had to turn around, and we ended up camping out under the stars in the middle of nowhere. Then it took us a full day just to get back to Mesquite, Nevada, where we stayed that night.
Oh my gosh.
Then we headed over to Page. Yeah. So anyways, it's been an adventurous trip. So
Sounds like it.
yeah. So by the way, good thing for my mom. I always made fun of my mom about keeping all the extra AAA paper maps in the car and stuff, and I'm like, Mom, you just use GPS, what do you need all these maps for? Let me tell you, when we got back to Mesquite, Nevada, the first thing the next morning after I got up is went to the AAA office and got some maps for this whole region. And we've already used them. We almost got lost again yesterday, so we ended up using,
Oh, I just said, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So always don't trust GPS maps and stuff. Always carry paper maps with you, because when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no data connection and you can't refresh maps through data connection, then you're really seriously up the creek without a paddle.
Especially if you're someone like me who's really horrible with directions.
Right. And always carry extra food and extra blankets if you're going out in the middle of nowhere. If it wasn't for the extra food, extra blankets, and extra pillows, it would have been a miserable night for sure.
Oh my gosh.
So
sorry for that.
Hey, we have one more picture here with you. We might as well go ahead. We finished this picture. Let's go ahead and show the... there we go. Okay, we kind of opened with that, but we can kind of wrap up with that, because that leads into what you're doing over there in Los Angeles. So, again, that's a picture of you and Jeff Krause. That was last July. That's right. And he was doing one of the MUFON field training exercises out there by Bishop's Peak. And myself and my wife got to participate. That's when we first met you. And we met you and is it your husband or your significant?
Might as well be. He's practically, we've been together for over 10 years, so it's just the paperwork hasn't been signed.
There you go. Significant other, for sure.
Yeah, there you go.
And so we had a great day that day, and we had a great evening. But why don't you tell people what you're doing there in Southern California for MUFON, and some of the things you kind of have planned coming up, and we can always do another show later with more specific detail.
Sure, absolutely. Well, right now what we're trying to do is because MUFON in Los Angeles has been kind of going through like a reorganization. I've decided that we're going to start holding some monthly, or maybe even more than this, some webinars, because one of MUFON's main goals is to educate. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to when Jeff offered me the position of state section director for Los Angeles, I was hesitant at first, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. But boy, what a way to be able to contribute. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to dive in with both feet, just jump right in. So I've been trying to get that organized. We're trying to build up the whole our mailing list, build up membership, which will be starting. We'll be starting that up pretty soon. And yeah, what we're going to be doing is Jeff and I will be hosting some webinars where we'll be having some guest speakers on there. But I also want them to be educational, so some people can learn. Let's say, for instance, how to tell if you're looking at a drone in the sky, because here in Los Angeles, a lot of people think that they're seeing stuff, but a lot of drones that are flying around here. So it's a way to educate the public and also educate them on the UFO phenomenon. So I thought this would be a great way to be able to do that. And if anybody's interested in joining the mailing list, they can go to MUFONLosAngeles.com. And I'll be sending out some newsletters as soon as we figure out our lineup. And I'm hoping, Eric, you'll be coming in and joining us with some of those too.
Oh, if at all possible, I would love to. Absolutely
yes,
love
great.
to.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, and then once we have a few of those going, we'll see how that's going, and then I'll be just putting together, trying to get together to do some monthly meetings, but that's a little bit further down the road because I have to raise money to be able to do these things. So that's kind of why I'm doing the webinars, to help raise the funds for that. And I really want people to walk away and learn something from this, because
okay.
There's a lot of stuff that we don't know.
Why don't you repeat that website again, just for people, make sure they get that, maybe go slow again. Just
Absolutely. It's MUFON, that's MUFON, LosAngeles.com. And on there you'll be able to see there's a calendar and everything up there, but it doesn't have any date set because we're still working on those dates. But there is at the bottom of the website, you'll be able to, there's a mailing contact that you can join that way. So then
right.
You'll be apprised of the new webinars that we'll be having.
Well, that should make it great, because especially down in LA, the traffic is just so horrendous that it's got to be an impediment for people that want to actually come to the meeting. So if they can,
I've actually received some emails about that too. It's like, it's so Los Angeles is so sprawled out.
Yeah.
So it'll be great for those people that do live distances, or that just aren't maybe even able to drive. Now they have an opportunity to actually participate in these lectures, which I find that really exciting. I mean, to take advantage of today's technology. I mean, why wouldn't we do that? Like what you're doing with your show. I mean, this is such a great way to be able to get the information out there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I know it's been a long day for you. You worked all day as well, and this was very impromptu. Denice, you're so awesome. Just so everybody knows, I contacted her early this morning with a message on Facebook and saying, hey, what are you doing tonight? If there's a chance I'm going to be in Roswell. And I've been updating her all day as to my status getting here, and so it hasn't been very firm. But I appreciate your tolerance and patience on coming on the show. And please feel free to share the show if you want to use it as promotional for your MUFON website as well. You're welcome to do so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please put it on your Facebook page for your MUFON organization as well. I mean, it's certainly welcome to share it, and we'll definitely do another show. But I feel so privileged and honored that you were able to make it on with your busy schedule. And I mean, broadcasting here from Roswell, it's been one of my dreams to come to Roswell, and then is like to be able to do a live broadcast and have the granddaughter of Major Jesse Marcel from the famous crash and all that. It just, you're really awesome, Denice, and thank you so much. And I look forward to having you on. If you want to hang out for a moment, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. If you need to get going, you can go ahead and hang up.
I'm fine. I'll hang out for a moment here.
Okay, great. Well, let me go ahead and just wrap things. Did you have any last minute things that you want to mention?
Thank you, everybody, and I hope that you go to the website so you can really take advantage of some of these webinars, because I think you'll find them interesting and probably a little bit enlightening. I'm hoping.
Absolutely. And why don't you throw out the website address one last time?
Sure. It's MUFONLosAngeles.com.
Okay, and if you don't know how to spell MUFON, it's MUFON.
Yes. Mutual UFO Network.
There you go. There you go. I'm sure they could probably Google for it as well. So,
Yes.
all right, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and I guess I'll see you once we close this up. Hang on a second.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in to this special broadcast of the Cosmic Cafe Show, live from Roswell, New Mexico, and that was the very, very awesome Denice Marcel, who was able to come on the show last minute. Again, thank you very much for Denice to do that and take out time for her evening. I know she's worked all day. She's had a long day. She looks as bubbly and energetic as ever, but I'm sure she's tired like I am. So I appreciate that so much. And I want to also just remind you, for our normal shows, we use the hashtag on Twitter and Facebook, CCS Live. If you care to throw any donations our way, you're welcome to donate on our website. Just click on that donate button. And last but not least, our social media sites. We mostly hang out on Twitter and Facebook, but of course, Google Plus and Instagram, we throw things up. And of course, right here on YouTube, if you're watching us on the YouTube, please be sure to click on the subscribe button. Join the hundreds of other people that are subscribing and getting the notifications of when we go live. And for that, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Again, Denice Marcel, that's MUFONLosAngeles.com. Make sure you go to our website, sign up for her, get on her email list. Even if you're not in Los Angeles, she's going to be doing those webinars. You can watch a webinar anywhere in the world. Okay, so go do that. And with that, I'm going to thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you maybe tomorrow, but probably not. Probably next Monday, in all reality. Good night.